Police say it was about 12:30 in the morning when the woman got off the bus at that stop across the street. Now she was walking. That's when police say at some point she encountered her attacker.
On the 13th of November, 2014, around 12:30 in the morning, a young girl exited a transit bus at Yonge Street and Bernard at the bus stop. She was approached by an unknown male who was wearing a mask, who was armed with a knife, and the individual dragged the victim about 100 feet off the road, and he viciously and violently sexually assaulted her in that field.
The victim was taken to hospital to be treated for injuries, but police began looking for the suspect, but his only distinguishing feature, the ski mask he wore.
Shortly after, we determined through our investigation that the case was linked to a case in Peel Region that occurred approximately 1 year previous.
A woman in her 40s was attacked after getting off a bus around midnight and forced to the ground by a masked man armed with a knife. York and Peel police have joined forces and believe they're looking for the same suspect.
The benefits of having a task force, we had a dedicated investigative team, resource sharing between both agencies.
So in November of 2021, we received information from the Centre of Forensic Sciences about a forensic link that linked the blue light offender's DNA to a Toronto crime scene. The Toronto Police Human Trafficking Team was conducting an investigation at that time into some females who were working in the Toronto area from Quebec and were potentially the victims of human trafficking. So evidence from one of their scenes linked to our offender. Trying to identify who the individual was the challenge. Over time, we were able to move down a list of individuals who we thought were persons of interest and eventually identified an individual through the use of some covert techniques that was in fact the blue light offender.
A cold case police refused to give up on nearly 10 years after two very violent sexual assaults. They have a Toronto man in custody of 32-year-old Jaehan Cho, also known as David Cho of Toronto. The heavily tattooed suspect faces 13 charges, including sexual assault with a weapon, kidnapping, and uttering death threats.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with this case, for 10 years, both Peel and York Regional Police have worked collaboratively, effectively. We've always shared information, we've pooled resources, and I think for me the big takeaway is it's kind of what the province's major case management system is all about. It's about sharing info in a timely fashion, working together, and I think that's what really happened in this case. So it was an amazing feeling when we finally had identified him and figured out who he was. So the offender in this case did plead guilty, and he's currently serving a lengthy penitentiary time at this time, and I hope that that gives the victims some sense of justice and some sense of closure in this case.